at 0 is pretty good for its accuracy is fairly good and it's fairly fast. So we're just gonna be using 0 for now. I'm gonna run that. If this is done running, which it is. Once that's done running, we're actually gonna make a, so this is done. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make that code. What I want to do is, for that actually, we're gonna go to do it. We're gonna click on files, it's all in the left. We're gonna mount Google Drive. What this does is, because we put all our data in Google Drive, we're gonna mount it here. It's gonna mount it, and then we can access our Google Drive from this Google Colab. It's gonna be in Content Drive, My Drive. Once we're in here, we're gonna want to navigate to it, much like CD, but instead of using, we're gonna be using CD. So first, we're gonna see what directory we're in. Let's type in ls. This means we're gonna see what. Just type in ls to see where you are. We're in Drive, or one of our child directories we can go to is Drive. This should be for all of yours. If it's not, you can just type in CD. Type in CD and you're back in the root. Okay, you get back into the directory by typing cd/content. And once we're in content, we're just going to slowly navigate our way toward, or we can just do it in one line / drive let's just do drive. Keep on pressing the run button. Not a robot, oh my. One of the worst use cases of this method. I'm going to go to my drive / data. Okay, now that we're in data, we're going to stay in here. So the Google Colab knows we're in this directory. So when we go into a different cell, which we're going to be adding this, we're going to delete all this code. We're typing in our O code. So what we're going to be typing in is, we're going to type in basically what's all the way down here. We're going to type in this. So let's copy that. Go to the cell. Type in this. Set it equal to a variable. So train, oops, caps out. Train underscore data. And we're in the content, we just give it some variables. Oops. So we're going to give it, I'm going to put these quotes and tell it that we're in data. So we want to go to train / images. Or train images, my bad. We just made it images. That for same thing as annotations directory. Instead of not train images, but train annotations. Oops. So now that we have this is going to be our train data. And one last thing we got to change is the label map. So if you used how many objects you detected, I detected one and I label it C, which I could have changed. I only detected one, so I'm going to delete this part with the semicolon and put that bracket. Should help it. Yes. So we're going to copy this line again that you just made. Instead of train data, we're going to do validation underscore data. The your data is validation, and we're going to do the same thing. Validation. Should copy and paste this. Validation. Make sure whenever you're typing this that your images directory goes first and annotations and then your label map. And the label map's the same for both of them. Images, annotations, label map. You have two different variables in it, and you should run it. Shouldn't run into errors. Okay. So ran into a little bit of hookup, but we should have something that's similar to this, where you have images, annotations, and label. You should run it. You should be in the data directory. You should run it. You should start creating your records, which it is. If that's made, we can start training a model. So while this is creating a model, we can talk about training time. So when you're training, you can give 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 right now it's set to be due to object detection detector create, which creates a model. Put in your train data and your validation data and the spec, which is the default that this has right now. As well as batch size, tray hold model, which we don't need to worry about. Something you can change is the epochs. Epochs you want to run it as. Right now, the default's 50. I want to change that to say 100, which would increase your time. Since we're on GPUs right now, it would take about 30 minutes, depending on how many files you have, or about an hour. If you wanted to change that, you can add that parameter, but I'm not going to change that. I'm going to leave it as default for the purposes of this tutorial. So once this is done, get the check mark, you can run the model detector. Should start booting up, and you should get, once this is up, you get some, yes, you're gonna get does it tell us what epochs we're on? It's gonna give us metrics, evaluation metrics that we can look at. So this is the longest process. It takes about, oh my gosh, crosswalk, 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 crosswalk. Okay, robot. So if everything went well, we sent it train data, name, train data, validation data. So it should be training fairly soon. There we are. Yep. It's on epoch 1. Look at, oh, you can look at the metrics, much like the learning tool chain. See all the metrics, and if you see any variances where the losses go to 1, almost 1. Right now it's probably a new model, so if if you see overfitting or signs of overfitting, you should stop it. See what's wrong with your data. and then go back and retrain. Right now it's fairly take about, I'd say, 10 minutes to train, and then we can export it as a T-flight and implement it to our application, or in case of FTC, our op modes. So I'll see you when this is done. So once this is done running, we can run step 4, which will be evaluating how good the model is. If we don't have any test data, or I didn't create any test data, we're gonna substitute test data with validation data, which maybe not maybe is not that well for evaluating a model that it's already evaluated, but it works, it works. Later on, you can feed it your own image through Google Images. So here we have fairly good model actually. These three tells me it's a 97 percentage, a 97 percentage, 95 percentage, which is pretty good in my opinion. So once that is done, we can export it to model export. This should export in the same drive as data. So once the model is done, once this cell is done, it took me about 2 minutes, and see that model.tflight is exported here, where our data is stored in. You can easily download that with just right clicking download. And we can also test the tflight file if we wanted to by putting in our validation data. Put in that, see what it outputs. So again, gave about the same scores as the model. A little bit less because it's a tflight file and it's a bit less of a model. Once you have the tflight file, you can import it to the assets folder of the FTC SDK, and you can monitor it through the concept webcam sample code by putting a Euphoria key and then setting the viewing ratios off, and view it through camera stream or HDMI ports, and you can see how well your tflight file actually performs. I'll end this tutorial from here. Thank you for watching, and that is all.